Friends, laziness is man's biggest enemy. A lazy person keeps waiting for others to help him. But the truth is, the work that depends on others never gets done. No one can ever succeed by being lazy. This story teaches us how to overcome laziness and build the habit of independence. Once, in a small peaceful village, there lived a gardener. Every day, he worked hard, planting trees, watering them, and taking care of his beautiful garden with love and dedication. One day, while he was busy planting new trees, a crow came flying into the garden looking for a safe place to live. It found a strong branch on one of the trees and decided to build its nest there. It looked like the perfect, safe home. Within a few days, the crow laid 3 tiny eggs in that nest. Time passed, and soon, 3 little crows hatched from those eggs. The crow was overjoyed. Every morning, it would fly out in search of food. And every evening it returned, feeding its little ones with love and care. One day, while working in the garden, the gardener looked at the tree where the crow had made its nest. He thought to himself, "This tree needs trimming." But he felt tired and weak. So he said, "Tomorrow, I'll ask my son to trim this tree." When the crow returned that evening, it saw its babies trembling with fear. The crow asked gently, "What happened, my little ones? Why are you scared?" The children said, "The gardener came today, looked at this tree and said, 'Tomorrow I'll ask my son to trim this tree.' What will we do then, mother? We're still too small to fly." The crow smiled softly and said, "Don't be afraid, my children. No one will come to trim this tree tomorrow." And just as the crow had said, the next day no one came. Days passed peacefully, and the crow's family continued to live safely in their little nest. Then, one day, when the crow returned from her search for food, it found its children frightened once again. The crow asked softly, "What happened now, my little ones?" The children said, "The gardener came today. He looked at this tree and said that tomorrow he would call a few workers to trim it." Hearing this, the crow calmly replied, "Don't worry, my children. No one will come to trim this tree tomorrow." And just like before, the next day, no one came. The tree remained untrimmed, and the little crows spent peaceful days in their nest. Time passed happily, until one day, when the crow returned to its nest, its children chirped excitedly, "Mother, the gardener came again today. He was talking about trimming this tree. But we know no one ever comes to do it." The crow asked, "Tell me exactly what he said, my little ones." The children replied, "Today, the gardener said, 'I've wasted enough time depending on others. Tomorrow, I'll trim this tree myself.'" The moment the crow heard this, it became serious. The crow said to her children, "My dear ones, we must leave this place before morning, and build our nest somewhere safe. Because tomorrow, the gardener will definitely come to trim this tree." The children were surprised. They said, "But, the gardener has said this many times before. Every time, no one came. How can you be so sure he'll come tomorrow?" The crow replied gently, "The first time, the gardener depended on his son to do it. The second time, he waited for the workers to do it. And when you depend on others for your own work, your work never gets done. But this time, he isn't depending on anyone else. He has decided to do it himself. When someone takes responsibility for their own work, that work always gets done. So he will definitely come tomorrow." By that time, the little crows had grown strong enough to fly. That night, they flew away from that tree and built a new nest in a safer place. And just as the crow had said, the next morning, the gardener came early with his axe and started trimming the tree himself. Friends, a person who always depends on others can never truly achieve anything in life. Such a person is often seen as lazy and careless. This doesn't mean we should never take help. There is nothing wrong with seeking help when needed. But depending completely on others for your own responsibilities is a mistake. If you want your work to be done well and on time, it's always better to do it yourself. Because the habit of doing your own work builds confidence and self-respect. And a self-respecting person is always respected by others in society.